We are back after some ado, checking out Neblime against jakulangski, playing the turning game mode. Can you believe it? Of course, we are back on Axiom for this one, and we have Neblime as the Protoss in the top right, messaging somebody on Discord or something instead of actually playing the game, and jakulangski in the bottom left. He is indeed not red, he is yellow, and of course, he is having a good time here as Zerg. Neblime putting some thoughts out there as far as balance considerations. I do think that Zerg definitely have pretty good experience on the turning, but I also think that there's some more changes we can make to the game mode that would probably help out a little bit. Like, maybe we could try changing the stats of the turning units. Maybe we could make it so that they, on certain circumstances, will dictate how their stats are. Because I wouldn't necessarily want it to be random, like it randomly is a fast one versus a slow one or something. Maybe it could be that if you interrupt the revive, then it will be slower and weaker. But if the revive is like completed, it'll be at a stronger strength or something. So it could be like a timed process that when you damage it, it gets interrupted. Something like that could be interesting. So anyway, I'm open to thoughts and ideas. We've got a gateway coming here for Neblime, or Neblime as it's actually pronounced. Still trying to catch myself on that. And the pool coming in after the low ground hatch. So, jakulangski going up against a 2-gate. Let's see if he can hold the fort. While I take a sip, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are enjoying Cosmonarchy. Thanks for checking us out on YouTube. Thanks for joining our Discord server if you have. We are closing in at 500 members on there, which, as it turns out, is halfway to the requirement for applying for server discovery, which means that people can just find us by searching Discord for servers. I don't know how many people would be searching for Starcraft-related Discord servers, because I feel like there's not very often are you going to see those kinds of things. But hey, it is a possibility. Now, Neblime is going to go ahead and drop a pylon, and then he will drop a warden. Pretty close. Obviously, as soon as his Hatrosk popped, it was revealed, and he does have a Legionnaire moving across the map. There are 3 pairs of Quasis about to hatch. I don't think that the Wardens are going to be able to finish, because the Quasis will deal pretty well with them. The Scribe should be a primary target here, but it looks like he really wants to kill the Warden before anything happens. Legionnaires here, but those don't do anything to Quasilisks. Well, the zombies are out, and he's actually attacked one of them, so that's a little bit awkward here. Warden, okay, I guess because he attacked him during the revive, it was fine. And yeah, everything gets canceled there. Not going to work out for him, and he will be able to get rid of the pylon. Zombie Legionnaire, not able to do too much, big surprise. And these Legionnaires going to scarf her off. Haha, zombie dumb. Yep, well that is what makes them a zombie after all. One of the many things. Random scribe. You do need to attack them after they finish the revive, but that's a requirement in order for them to attack you. So, Neblime totally forgetting about this Legionnaire, but he's basically a race car, so he just does a quick turn, vroom, and for somebody who calls them the wrong name all the time, he sure is building a lot of them. Got a Zealot and a Dracoden coming. I think maybe if they automatically did acquire nearby targets, it probably would improve the efficacy of it. Now, 2 scribes over here, that's not going to be any good, but just letting Jesus take the wheel is jakulangski. He's on the A move. Doesn't mind too much if it takes a little bit longer. Now he's going to see if he can pop some of these scribes, turn them into zombie scribes, and those zombie scribes will then attack the real scribes and maybe make more zombie scribes, and the Quasilisks are turning into zombie Quasilisks as they attack the scribes, which are turning into zombie scribes. And oh my god, there's zombie Legionnaires, and they almost killed another Legionnaire, making another zombie Legionnaire. Oh! Absolutely slapped down. Well, that was certainly interesting. Hatrosk coming. We're going up to 4 hatch here for none other than Jack. Actually 5, considering he's going to go ahead and take a 3rd base. Do love to see that. I am very much looking forward to seeing where we transition out from this point. Just a couple of scribes going down over here. Of course, the zombie scribe's still on the loose. Should the zombie workers build zombie bases. I feel like that would be a little much, but you never know. Now, there's not really that much here to defend immediately from this counterattack, but the counterattack is also just 2 Dracodons, right? So he's going to try to kite the Quasilisks inevitably, infinitely, ad infinitum. He's actually not killing any of them so far. He's just softening them up, so that's a little bit awkward. Now, if Jack isn't on attack move, then he'll do okay, despite the zombie Zeths occupying a little bit of his time here. Does need to watch out for that. Yeah, he's just sort of right-clicked onto it, so that's fine. He doesn't need to really pay too much attention to that. As of right now, he's zoned away the Dracodons enough, and he's also creating all these zombies, which are, of course, going to get attack moved onto him. Obviously, these are not zombies. These are real Zethicors. But how long is that going to last, right? Got to watch out for that. So now he's just made a bunch of zombies that will automatically start annoying Neblime as they are closer to him. We have some Vorvs being made to occupy the Dracodons. I do like that. I haven't seen Vorvs being used in ZVP in a while, so good to see them make a return. Obviously, the Hydra Then is also up, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some Hydras. Hydra Vorv is not a bad call, in my opinion, but it is kind of mineral heavy. Random Quasi. Charging on forward. Turning against the overworld. Oh, we saw... Yeah, there's a scribe on the loose. Eh, well, whatever. Just let it live in peace, if you can call that living. Are they philosophical zombies, or are they real zombies? Kagrant coming down, but I don't think that is going to be allowed to get up. This 6 Dracodon raiding party here is going to start to zombify some of these workers, but Neblime is still very much behind, economically speaking, and the counterattack is coming in. And realistically speaking, this looks like it could end the game. Now, there is a Warden back there. If the Vorvs can get on top of it, that can be something. Scribes offering themselves up, turning into zombie Scribes so that they can continue to block a little bit of the time, trying to drill back defensively to prevent the melee surround from happening over here. Now, meanwhile, these 6 Dracodons have been having a gay old time over here at the 3rd. So it looks like at this point, economic damage, some worker count deficit, but Neblime is okay on the workers overall. No worries there. So he basically exits that with the same amount of workers that he had before, and he's definitely softened up jakulangski, who I guess has the same amount of workers too. Somehow, all of that economic damage and slappening is just fine. Look at this. The Dracodons are fighting each other, zombified. Warded off. Second pylon, Ancestral Archives to get rid of the float. Still just on the 2 bases, though. Neblime could be bopped here if he's not careful. Mr. Jack is thinking about what he wants to do here. He has more Vorvs. Remember, the Vorvs weren't with the defensive force here at all. Static defense, obviously, sometimes betrays you versus the zombies. The couple of melee units here doing a pretty good job of trying to deal with this. And as that zombie comes back in, just to frustrate the attack move a little bit, we will have some of the Protoss units fall. And you can see Jack is trying to focus fire just the couple of enemy units, but the attack move is failing him. He's now aggroed this very, very wounded zombie Dracodon onto him. And it ignores the enemy units. It only will fire on yours. So not ideal. Not an ideal situation. Trying to set up the circuits. If these can all get up, he'll be in pretty good shape. One of them is about to finish. That was the one that was regressed before, I believe. Some of these Kagrants not quite getting it there. And now we've got zombie Hydras on the loose. It definitely feels like battles take a lot longer in this, which makes sense. The attack move, like having to constantly battle between attack moving and like force targeting individual units is probably a little bit... I would imagine a little frustrating. At the very least, it's very different than what we would expect. Trying to set up the 3rd base. Engram, Warden. See if Neblime can hold on to that. We have the Iral Iris just now starting. So tier 2 on the way for our Zerg at around the 9-minute mark. Camping the corpses, making sure those zombies don't get up to no good. Zeth run by over here. He's going to go after the pylon. Now, there is another one just put down. And one of the Wardens does end up getting canceled. I'd be going after that Engram with these Zeths if I were him. And indeed he does. That will get canceled, but that's still a pretty good move. Now the zombies, obviously, starting to activate. All the static defense have been killed, with the exception of the Engram, which was actually canceled. And now what kind of situation are we really talking about here? I mean, that means that we are going to start to see this base be a lot more vulnerable in the future. A couple of these zombie units starting to frustrate Neblime's forces. Had to pause to sneeze for a moment, but we have more units on the way. Embassy finally coming up for Neblime, but I think he's going to be a little bit too far behind there. He's actually got a Dracoden stuck by the looks of it, due to his SimCity. His inexperience with Protoss may be showing a little bit. This is the one race that he really doesn't play too much. Now, Zets are going to charge on in. If they can get onto the Warden, then the zombies will obviously get aggroed by the Scribe Pole, and I feel like that could be enough, but the Warden is going to stay alive just barely, partially thanks to the Patriarch, also partially due to, I think, the Zets got on attack move, but the counterattack here at the third, the subsequent attack, the war on multiple fronts, is going to work out for jakulangski, who is capping his geyser back at home. He is going up to the ETEF and to the nest. We will be seeing some tier 2 units if the game even needs to go that long, because jakulangski seems to be putting the hurt on his opponent. Now, there's double Patriarch. These can get to a pretty scary amount. You need to kind of right-click on them with those Hydras and hopefully try to, you know, kite forward with each shot, but as of right now, it's not looking too hot. Now, those zombies do occupy the initial bursts of the Patriarch shots. It's allowing the engrams to be sniped. It's a lot of dead money that Neblime hasn't really been able to actuate. And at this point, I feel like the reinforcements are going to come in. And, I mean, again, the Patriarchs can deal with the zombies. They can deal with the Zets. So they're not really worried too much about that. But the Nexus falling, that's a pretty big, rough situation here. Engram on the high ground. Surely Neblime won't have to cancel that one. I'm not even sure that Jack is aware of it since he has no Ovileth here for spotting. He's kind of haphazardly charging forward. If you're on attack move and your enemy's killing your front line, then your units are going to aggro onto the Zets instead of aggroing onto the enemy units. So this is working out pretty well on the defender's advantage side. I'm not so sure that this is exactly what the Doctor ordered, but somehow Patriarch Golem, a pretty damn good composition for staying alive and peeling versus the enemy. But Kagralisks are starting to come out on the way. One of the golems does go down. That reduces the strength of the others. Oh my god. Yeah, I think at some point the Zeth corpses start to turn against you as the Zerg player. You're going to be coming in here thinking, oh, I've got all this fodder I can use. And here come the Rillarokors. Wow, they can be even worse depending on the situation. But all the Zets are already dead. So where are the corpses to actually resurrect? Actually, I think Vilgalets end up serving a really important role in this kind of game. Because the fact of the matter is, your situation here with the Matrolets is that they are going to short-circuit the zombification. And so if you're trying to bypass that particular aspect of the game, in the game mode, you can do that with the Vilgalets. Now, he's going to go ahead and give it a shot. The Kagralisks have already zombified. But you can see it's stopping the Zets from turning on their masters, which is going to be a pretty important detail here. We've got some workers set up at the treasury. We've got 9 o'clock and 6 o'clock taken by jakulangski behind this. He hasn't really been able to saturate those bases just yet. He's still not saturated on this mineral-only treasury base, for example, in the upper middle of the map. A ballsy pick, considering it's not really... I guess the idea is that... Neblime is more likely to have units in this area, and then he can fire on this ground. So actually, it might be the smart pick, the thinking man's choice. Nexus being set up here, and Neblime has somehow held on. How much longer can he hold is the question. Capping the geyser over here. Just using all of the production into one control group. The Zets charging in, and the Rillarokors are going to be soon to come over here as well. This just occupies Neblime's time. It's not really threatening. He's only got Zets and Quasis, which... He's got the Matrolets here to add a little bit more, you know... annoyance, I suppose. The Vilgalet's actually getting focused down here by the splash, so not as effective as they would be otherwise. I don't know what happened over here. The Vassals. The Vassals are starting to create zombie Drolets to harass the worker line. Scouting around with them. Not a bad choice, obviously. But they kind of remind Jack that he has those bases, so I feel like Jack is definitely ahead, but he hasn't been able to field an appropriate composition. He spent so much of his resources on kind of silly things, if you think about it, just spamming out the tier 1 units, the chaff. And he didn't really do it on the powerful tier 1 units. He did Zeth Quasi. He could have done, you know, Hydra, Izzy, or Zorius. I don't even know if he has a Shroud. Doesn't look like it. Could definitely be fielding some Vilgorokors here. So his unit choices are leaving a lot to be desired. Losing a Matroleth. The neutral Matroleths don't cast any spells, which they probably should, the zombie ones. But as of right now, they're mostly just there for annoying you on an A move. One of the Patriarchs, very close to going down, manages to escape to safety. Very big deal there. But there's so many Kagralisks, and the Rilla Rokor is stopping the corpse consumption, means that Neblime can't even really rely on his front line having that double health. Until maybe it's the worst possible time. Sharking back over across that little divot. He is going to be able to position himself in between the natural choke and the path to the third. And he's got a lot of units. So Jack, gonna see if he can put a little bit more pressure on. Trying to add more of the Vilgalets to the front line to create those Rilla Rokors, and again, occupy this very scary high-tech force. All the Drakodins are gone. The Patriarch falls. He's down to just the 5, and he does have a very, very wounded one. So the Focus Fire can absolutely come in here. More and more Vilgalets coming in, streaming in with additional Zets to start overwhelming these engrams. Believe it or not, Zets can deal with the engrams, especially in the turning where they turn into zombie Zets afterwards anyway. Somehow these Patriarchs are all still alive. The Kagralisks have not actually accomplished too much because they're getting locked up attacking the zombie front line. But finally, another one will fall. Down to only 4 Patriarchs. He has... what does he have? He has an Archon coming. I guess that's not a bad idea. The zombie Archon, when it dies, will double proc its shield restore, so that might actually be a good strategy, although... you know, are you really going to play around your high-tech unit dying? I'm not quite sure. Charging into the third yet again, and Neblime has fallen all the way back to in the anticipation that the pincer attack was going to come in. He's going to try to see if he can get out on the map, and the Kagralisks are dying, admittedly, but all the Vilgalets, all the Rilla Rokors, and all the Zets have overwhelmed this position. There are no more static defense structures over here. We've got plenty of the Vilgalets to try to consume the corpses and stagger this one even further. That low HP Patriarch not actually falling. Another one has come. We've got some high-tier workers. I don't think those are going to be too helpful. And he will hold, but that Nexus is at about half health. Protathalors have hit the deck as well. I feel like in this situation... I don't know. Neblime's still getting a lot of harassment potential with the vassals. And now they're, of course, going to be zombie vassals. Big fans. They'll just die kind of haplessly. Protathalor's getting caught here. That's a pretty big misstep from jakulangski because he wanted to be able to use those with some kind of frontline. Spraith is in place to deal with the situation here. The Gosvalets were going to be tasked under this reservoir, but they were not. We've got these 3 over here to harvest from that treasury. So lots of income here for Jack. He's got a lot of advantages, but Neblime actually has the worker count advantage, and he's taking 3 o'clock behind this push, which is a pretty scary one, admittedly. But again, I feel like a lot of it is coming down to the over-reliance on Kagralisks, the lack of additional siege with Protathalors. He lost a bunch of them in the middle of the map. Oh no, this Patriarch is basically dead. Should be anyway. Neblime not even looking at it, so that's a dead Patriarch. But you can see how much value it gets with its splash. Oh, look at that! He's actually taken it over. Infested Patriarch it is. It's not as valuable for Zerg because it gives a shield-related passive, but, you know, the splash will help. That's actually something that Jack is really lacking right now. He does not have that much splash. He has no Bactylisks. He has no Sycralisks. He has no... I would even say Convalisks with their bounce a little bit. Would be something at the very least. But there is a critical mass of 6 Patriarchs at this point. And unfortunately for the Matrolets, they are finding that out firsthand. Infested Patriarch not likely to get too much done here. Will almost certainly be bopped. What is the response? We've got a lot of Zets coming, a lot more Kagralisks. It's just more of the same in this situation. And Neblime is proven to be capable of holding it so far. He's got to deal with his 3 o'clock base being overwhelmed now. The Matrolet's going to go ahead and cast their Excision. It's not going to really matter at the end of the day, I don't think. It might buy a little bit more time. But even this Kagralisk count is not enough to overwhelm the position here. We do have the 1 Archon frontlining massively, thanks to the Patriarchs keeping it very well stocked with shields. It's just way, way too much here in this situation. Oh, well, it's actually been split off a little bit, so maybe it can get focused down. Looks like it finally will end up falling. And maybe 1 more Patriarch for good measure as well. No, not going to happen. Would you look at that? The Archon's corpse even gets consumed by the Rilla Rokors. Turned into broodling food. Pinching off just a couple of units over here, seeing if he can make something happen. Again, you imagine the static defense definitely going to help out eventually. Really, really trying to needle in onto this 3 o'clock position. Neblime's worker count obviously much higher than Jack. He doesn't want this to be where Neblime gets the economic advantage and actuates his worker count advantage. But he's still never actually saturated the 6 o'clock base. And now his 9 o'clock is under duress thanks to the golem, we're going to see some static defense get set up, but 3 o'clock has been held in the meantime. One thing that casting this series has definitely taught me so far is that the traditional sound of Lazarus Agent proc should not be used for the zombies. There should just be some like zombie moaning noises, obviously. Maybe one for each race or something, like a different one for Zerg and Protoss and Terran, and eventually a Skozy. Dude, imagine the first cast over that features a Skozy. Come on, man. Tell me that's not going to be epic. I don't know why he's been so needlepoint focused on trying to make a lot of Zethra cores, particularly since he hasn't even saturated the minerals here at the 6 o'clock location, and particularly since he never resaturated this base. He had a bunch of workers that weren't even being used anyway. He will go ahead and confirm the scout at the 12 o'clock base, so Neblime has held on long enough. He has pretty high-tech army, very, very powerful, you know, blob of Protoss forces. And he definitely is going to have the map control now, the tempo. Tier 3 on the way for jakulangski, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. And I'm very surprised, honestly. I'm very surprised. I think he maybe was like, oh yeah, Zets, they're going to be really good in this game mode because that's something that Neblime said. But Neblime was actually baiting, apparently, the whole time, as Zets turn out to be more of a hindrance at the end of the day. We've got the engram going to be going down here shortly. But again, the Kagralisk's busy attacking the units, right? The zombies. Not really the ideal situation, and right now, oh, I guess they will kill it. Okay, they're just fine. Kill the engram and leave. It's an expensive loss, but Neblime can afford it with 137 workers to his name. Now pushing in with this very, very slow sustain ball. Not even able to get the Vilgaleth up for very long. Putting it right in the face, and then of course it's just going to get damaged and destroyed. We've got the Tecton coming. That's the answer Protoss have. If they can just out-sustain you, and then not actually worry about any of their units really dying, then all of a sudden, they're kind of in a pretty good spot. Now, I'm not sure about the Manifolds, but why not? You know, they're pretty good hit scan attackers, pretty fast, you know, easy to produce when you've got a lot of lattices. I'd love to see some Archons on this field, but I'm not sure that it matters too much. Matrolets being spawned in. We've got only Zeths coming on down this ramp versus Obtectons and Patriarchs. You're not going to get very close to these guys. Tier 3 just finished. What does he want to do with it? He's just making more Zeths. That's all jakulangski knows to do at this point is make Zeths, but we've got an Argosy started for Neblime, so even if this goes, you know, this does get held, this attack force isn't going to be enough. 6 o'clock is dead, not that it was ever really alive, and it looks to me like Neblime is about to make the comeback happen. Oh, man, has he really stuck all these units in? I know that the Draconins are stuck. The Archons shouldn't be, though. Maybe they can't get through here. No, they should be able to. I don't know what's going on. He just probably lost it. Well, big surprise. We will have, of course, the Sovralets come out from jakulangski. He's got the Kapralosks coming. He's got the Tozral Haunt coming. Yeah, I'm not exactly surprised, but let's just say I don't know if it's going to be enough. Especially since they rely on the corpses being on the ground for a long period of time so that they can move over them. The window of time is only 1 second to use a corpse before it gets turned into a zombie, so I don't think they're going to be useful whatsoever here. If he goes for something other than Sovralets, then maybe that'll be acceptable, because then it's like, you know, I see that he's making them now, so it's a moot point, but I was thinking Tozgralisks would be pretty good, potentially. They'd have to worry about the Patriarchs stacking the splash. I don't know, maybe Ghitora cores to deal with the ground-based army. You can come in here and try to snipe the Patriarchs in particular, since there's not really a great anti-air here. Again, the Patriarchs themselves can deal with stacked air, but that could have been something. His only real hope at this point is to make a lot of Sovralets without relying on the corpses, and using them to outrange his opponent's forces. That's pretty much his main course of action. You can see him trying to make the Sovralets, but it's not really happening, because he needs to get there within such a tight window of timing, and the units are here for Neblime to deal with this. So, okay, I mean, he's stacking up 12 Sovralets now, so it's not nothing, but you can see him trying to go in there, and all the corpses are gone by then. So it's not working out for him at all. Jakulangski is going to end up capitulating his loss, his lead, rather, it looks like, and with all the vassals streaming on in as well, you take those more than anything. Zombie Sovralets, it's a scary thought, but I don't think that they're going to end up making too many extras. losing his third. He's lost his 9 o'clock position. He's lost his 6 o'clock position, and he has to call GG. Neblime should have lost that game so many times, but he ends up clutching out the dub just by holding on. And Jack, his unit choices, his selection there, playing around with the idea of Zets being really powerful, it was not the case. So, with Neblime taking a 2-0 lead to the series, we will join us for the third and final game in this set. And we'll just see if we can finish this up and go on to the next match, whatever that may be. Thanks for hanging out and checking out this cast of The Turning Game Mode. Of course, there's plenty of normal Cosmonarchy to be played, but you know, you like to see the custom game modes here and there. And again, I've had lots of ideas for how I might make it better, improve it, make it more interesting. I'm sure it would be utter chaos in like a free-for-all or something, so maybe we'll cast one of those later. GG.